Welcome back, everybody. This week we are back working on the 64 Bonneville, and specifically this week we are working on the steering box. So I'll spin you around real quick and take a peek. I've got the steering box out. This is a rear mount setup, meaning it's behind the center line. So like 67 to 69 Camaro style, or anything where it's behind the axle. Anyway, we've got the steering box out, and actually, as of right now, it is cleaned up and ready to go back in. I got just a little ahead of myself. I did want to back up and say that the reason I'm working on the steering box is that I want to get all of the steering reassembled before I have, a giant motor in the way. So I'm kind of working my way backwards in the order of operations to get this thing reassembled. And I'd like to get the steering box done so that it can go back in the car. So steering box leads to center link and tie rods and all of the steering. Then the motor goes back in. So that's why I'm focusing on that today. And then very soon we'll get to the rest. So anyway, back to the video. Minus tightening on the pitman arm, I've got to get an adapter. I don't have a 3/4 drive to 1/2-inch drive adapter. So anyway, today I'll take you through the video of the disassembly, cleaning, re-gasket, reassembly. So let's take a look. So enough teasing, let's get into it. The pitman arm coming off with the Lyle pitman arm puller didn't fight me as much as I expected. It came off pretty cleanly. Similarly with the rag joint, which is in pretty sad shape. It's interesting how many grounds are on this car, including the ground shown here going across the rag joint to ground the steering column. So many grounds on this car, more than I've seen from cars of the era. So next up, we're going to start by taking the cap off the top above the sector shaft. Everything's coming apart pretty well. It was pretty well soaked in its own, oils and greases. So no big surprises here, really. Some light tapping necessary to get the sector shaft out. Wear on the box looks very minimal. I'll show some of the cleaned up parts in a minute, but dumping that just to get the last of the fluid out of it and then starting to drive out. It has multiple seals on the bottom. I'm just using a curved pry bar to get hooked around and pop them out. There's not much holding them in now that I've taken the snap ring out. So just getting these all laid out in order in my my work tray. The seal kits to rebuild these are actually pretty economical. They're not terrible. That snap ring fought me just a little bit. It's not, I don't know if you call it a snap ring or not. Anyway, I put it under my arbor press just to press the end cap down slightly, and then that ring was able to be pulled out quite a bit easier. I kind of jumped past that part, but here we're taking the rack portion out. This is a little nerve-wracking because this is the part where you can lose the ball bearings, and I was very careful to keep excellent track of those, keep them contained in one area. In a few minutes I'll take the tube the tube that transmits the balls back around the ball screw. It's gonna be fun when we break out the plumbing tools, but this again came apart just fine, nothing scary. This would be the actual pump assembly, and then the output is the ball screw. Now we shifted 12 feet to the right, and we are at the parts washer. Very careful to not lose any of the small bits down into the parts washer. Mostly I'm starting with the big pieces like the main housing and then the pitman arm in a moment. And then I'm starting to bring over the internal components piece by piece. Really just trying to get all the crud off the outside surface. Some of it took a pick and, wire brush and all those things just to get it pretty clean. Really clean. Fast forwarding about an hour or so, we're pulling the pitman arm and the main housing out of the ultrasonic cleaner. This was a pretty clean bath of simple green, and this really helped to loosen up all the crud on the outside. These parts cleaned up really nicely after this. I did a light, just like a wet Scotch Brite on the aluminum pieces. Gave them that nice dull cast finish, and the housing itself, wire brushed one more time, blew it all completely dry, primed and painted. Now we're at the fun part. So again, painted housing, new seals, clean snap rings, everything's laid out, and I'm going to try and methodically go through the assembly. I'm going to speed a lot of this up because it's not so exciting to watch, but peeling the tape off, had the housing taped up nice. So we're going to drive some of the seals in, or rather the layers of seals and then spacer rings, finishing with the C-clip on the end. And we're jumping ahead just a little bit just to keep things interesting. Doing the seals on the steering shaft portion. Similar thing, it's got a cup seal and then call it kind of a wiper seal that I'm setting in right here. Lightly tap down in place. That gets a snap ring, which I jumped past apparently, but I did show this incorrectly. I got excited and didn't put the steering shaft in front, but easily pulled that back out, steering shaft in. And then I realized that this needs a pin spanner, so tried to be economical and just use a drill bit and a crescent wrench. Kind of a time wasting exercise when in a few minutes I did what I should have done from the start, and that is make a pin spanner. So I grabbed just a piece of flat bar, drilled a big center hole for the shaft to pass through, and then a couple holes for the pins, or in this case, drill bits upside down. So there we go. Now we've got a nice tool. We can screw that down, check the the preload and everything against the components. But this was much better. And then that hex that goes on the end, that's just the jam nut that got tightened back down. This was the like I said, the nerve-wracking part was you had to put the rack in place, feed the ball bearings in, kind of rotate the shaft to get everything nestled right, and then end up grease packing the remaining ball bearings in and screwing those down. It would probably get easier if you did this more often, but no drama, no parts fell on the floor. After this, I'm speeding this up quite a bit because it got quite a bit simpler. Put the parts back where I found them, fresh gaskets, tighten the bolts down. I'm going to have to do the final lash adjustment when it's in the car. So here is the finished steering box, reassembled and ready, minus the rag joint, and then I've got to get the pitman arm put back on. So this was really a fun project this week. It was a smaller piece of the overall project of the car, but this was an important one, like in the step towards one, reassembling parts back on the car, and two, getting that much closer to putting the motor and trans back in. So in the coming work days, I'm going to get the rear axle back in, the rear suspension completed, basically get the car to be a roller again, and then the motor and trans back in the car. So we're across the path, or like at the crossover point of taking parts off the car, and we're now to the point of putting stuff back on. It's really exciting. I think progress is going to start gaining momentum. So I'm getting excited about it. I'll bring you guys back for the next episode where we get some more work done on it. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.